This week in the world, YouTube has had enough of dirty peasants watching their content for free and it's escalating the war on the poor. Steve-O from Jackass has cancelled his top surgery after a very uncomfortable conversation, and Dr. Disrespect the Law is back in action and is attempting a comeback that seems to be gaining some traction. Starting off with the story that probably affects you the most, for some time now YouTube has declared war on the casual viewing experience. In fact, the very third video I posted almost 3 years ago on this channel was a complaint about that. Take a look for yourself. And now it's only getting worse. What started off as a polite reminder has escalated to this.
Video player will be blocked after one video. It looks like you may be using an ad blocker. Video playback will be blocked unless YouTube is allow listed or ad blocker is disabled. Ads allow YouTube to be used by billions worldwide. You can go ad-free with premium and creators can still get paid from your subscription.
That's right, in YouTube's effort to make sure that you're properly stuffed and crooned with as much advertisements as possible, you will now literally be blocked from accessing the website if you have an active ad blocker extension. And even without said ad blocker, YouTube is planning on implementing pause screen ads to glare at you while you go take a shit. I'm gonna be immediately the weird kid who's gonna leave a floater in the pool at swim class and say I am personally on YouTube's side. As much as I hate ads, and I really do, it is their right to shove them in your face as much as they want because we are accessing free unlimited content. They've got to make their money somehow. Furthermore, in its current state, I think YouTube Premium is a brilliant plan. I signed up a year ago and you basically get discount Spotify for free, and to have 4 accounts to give to family members so they can also enjoy ad-free viewing just sweetens the honeypot. Am I saying I'm a meat rider for life? Absolutely not. The minute that price mark goes past 25 quid a month, I'm pulling out quicker than a cousin, bro. But as it stands now, it is well worth it. Next up, the nurses in England are being lazy again, is the narrative that keeps getting spun every single time healthcare workers demand a pay rise, with this time being absolutely no exception. The RCN, or the Nurses Union, has rejected the government's proposed 5.5 pay increase, claiming it isn't enough to meet their goals. This being part of a long-running dispute since 2022, when the pay rises were put on hold in order to steady the ship, as the Conservative government of the time claimed. However, in the here and now, it seems to be a contest of pulling teeth. You see, technically, the government does owe the Nurses Union a backdated pay rise, as well as an adjustment for inflation, both of which obligations the government has not yet met, which honestly is a little bit shocking, especially considering that the nurses union is skilled laborers. It goes without saying that you can't pull Bobby off the building site and tell him to do cannulation. Not that he would do it anyway. As a bricklayer, they make £110 a brick. That all being said, a small violin should be played for the RCN, as the standard nursing salary on basic within the UK is 31k to 35k a year, falling well within the middle class range. But on the same foot, my aunt, who is only a standard healthcare worker within the trust on nights, clears nearly £27,000 a year without pickups, meaning that a standard healthcare worker within the NHS could in theory make the same amount of money as a nurse, with very little effort. I am not complaining about that fact. Healthcare assistants work really hard as well, but I could understand a nurse's frustration who studied for years only to find themselves on not much more income than a standard entry-level worker. Now a story that the boys can get behind. Girls beware, I'm gonna get my cock out. Steve-O, and yes, I mean that Steve-O from the well-renowned Jackass, is no longer getting tits. What the fuck did you just say? But not like in a trans way, more in like a bit way. His grand plan for a practical joke was to get breast implants, go to a motorcycle rally or wherever burly men are featured, whilst wearing a helmet and then pretend to hit on those men. Then once he's got them nice and entrapped, he's gonna remove his helmet and woo, big surprise, it's a bloke. You could just use prosthetics, my man, but whatever. Also, how do I put this without sounding like a woke warrior? This is a little bit messed up. At best, it's incredibly disrespectful and treats body dysmorphia as a joke, in a non-funny way mind you, which is the golden rule, and at worst, which upsets me because I'm not internet today, I refuse to grandstand and act morally superior every chance I get, but the joke is literally tricking men into hating trans women, which just isn't very cool, bro. It's also trying to promote a violent reaction from those men against what essentially is a trans person, which by its very definition is literal transphobia, a viewpoint that was shared by an actual real-life trans person whom Steve-O bumped into whilst buying some groceries. As Steve-O described it after revealing his plan to the clerk behind the counter, they had the exact same viewpoints as I just laid out, that the joke would be seen as mean-spirited and promote hate crimes. And as such, Steve-O now has officially scrapped his plans of getting top surgery, not that he really had a choice because the anesthesiologist who was meant to do the surgery refused once they found out what the purpose of it was, and he has since admitted the error of his ways. Which, whatever dude, we all make mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, the popular food franchise franchise, TGIF, has gone into administration in the UK. God, it feels so good. I've never been so happy to see a company fail. Although it's depressing people have lost their jobs, that company serves some of the most disgusting overpriced food available. This is a true story from my own life, right? I went into Iceland because I fancied picky bits the one night. I saw a special on, oh, you can get a main, a snack, and then a dessert. Without thinking, you pick it up thinking, right, it'll probably be around 10 quid, because that's how it normally is with those types of specials. Take it to the front counter. Tell me why it wanted to charge me £25. Now, of course, I'm a spineless coward and I paid it anyway, instead of just taking it back and saying no thank you, only for the food to be revolting. I don't understand how you can cock up wings, a pizza, and cheesecake, but every single item of that food was inedible. You can literally feed a family of 4 at Spoons for 30 quid and drinks. Regardless, I may have done a little bit of a Dino, as my starter wife likes to call it, and been a little bit premature, as the franchise isn't fully under the dirt just yet. As it stands, the company is currently going into administration, with the parent owners Hostmore trying to sell off the franchise with all of its assets as quickly as possible. According to the firm, they are currently in advanced talks to unload the chain, but I would imagine they are probably just trying to save face. What is for sure though is if Hostmore were to actually sell the franchise to whatever gullible smuck took it on, it would be at a significant loss, as according to BBC reporting, the franchise itself has huge debts on its back. On the topic of administration, the next story features a club who might be facing it themselves, if God is good. Allah, Jesus, whoever you are, please, 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 please deduct 10 points from Everton. Regardless, Man City faced Arsenal on Monday night, and the 2-2 draw might be seen as one of the games of the season, with both Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola pulling off tactical masterclasses in their own right, following an absolutely brazen dive by Rodri, which he somehow managed to wiggle an injury out of, although I'm not sure if it was actually on the pitch or in the tunnel. The match truly got underway, with the super robot Haaland scoring his 100th goal in the City Blues, making all 5 home fans in attendance at the Etihad jump up in joy, before they were forced to sit back down, with a stunner of a goal coming via an assist off Martinelli, meeting the left foot of Calafiore, singing its way into the top bins, followed shortly by a flick in off Gabriel, allowing the Gunners to go 2-1 going into half-time, not before losing a man to red, forcing them to literally park the bus for the rest of the second half, a tactic that nearly paid off if it wasn't for a lucky rebound that met John Stones, in pretty much the last kick of the game, allowing City to secure their spot at the top for another week, and allowing Haaland to bring a little bit of flair back into this rigid sport with some good old shithousery. Copyright claim, stay humble, stay humble, come, what, come, what you talking? What are you talking about what? I wasn't talking, clown. What you talking about? Get away. If I didn't know this lad was Scandi, I would honestly think he was from North with his attitude. Brew is a Brexit man in everything but name. In further surprising news, that's about me, because sometimes I want to be the center of attention. I have finally watched a TV show and sat still for the entirety of its runtime. The Penguin, a spin-off of Matt Reeves' Batman universe, has so far only released 1 episode of the show. But what an episode it was. Avoiding spoilers, as this will probably be the show of the decade, hands down. Instead of following the Cape Crusader and his quest for justice, we get a nice gritty look at the day-to-day Gotham, with the show being centered on the gangster and drug lord Oswald Cobblepot. It's no tights, it's no fancy suits. It is just a straight-up crime drama that everybody seems to be aware of, especially Colin Farrell, who is just literally playing Tony Soprano, but, you know, the Penguin version. All the same though, he is giving an absolutely phenomenal performance. In the news again this week, we go to Elon Musk, who I am pretty sure it is safe to say at this point, in the court of public opinion, this brookie has had the death penalty. From being kinda, you know, relatively cool, even to me, he has become irredeemably lame. And the meat riders of Elon are just as bad, if not worse, than the billionaire for slobbing on his throbbed knob. All that to say is Elon is in real court soon, as the board game Cards Against Humanity has now taken legal action against Mr. Musk. A brutal blow all around, as it's dweeb on dweeb violence. I can't imagine being in either camp, as they are just as cringe as one another. But all the same, the complaint is over a land issue, as the company behind the popular board game is claiming that Mr. Musk's private space company, SpaceX, allegedly trespassed on their domain, causing damages that they claim are worth at least 15 million. The land in question was apparently bought by the company back in 2017 in order to protest Trump's border wall. Oh, that's so lame! Apparently this land that was bought by the people behind Cards Against Humanity was near a SpaceX staging ground for building supplies, and SpaceX had apparently illegally stored some of their supplies on their land. I'm not entirely sure if this complaint means that they're trying to go after SpaceX for destroying the actual land itself, meaning like the natural states like trees and shrubbery, or that SpaceX has damaged it to a point that it's unable to be farmed on anymore. Not that it matters in the grand scheme of things anyway, because if SpaceX did in fact trespass on their land and utilize the land without their express permission, Elon will be held liable and will be forced to pay those damages. In the area of damages, a household name by now, Alex Jones, is, to put it mildly, in the arse following his lost court case against the victims of Sandy Brook. Alex is now being forced to sell off whatever assets he has available to him in order to pay back his $1.5 billion debt, later reduced to just $85 million, split amongst the families of the victims. This lawsuit came out after Alex's repeated insistence that the families and victims of the, tragic shooting were in fact crisis actors. In other words, people paid by the government to pretend something happened that never did. These claims to Alex's massive fan base, as evidenced by the millions of dollars he was pulling in a year, created basically an organized harassment campaign against the victims of, the shooting, making their already extremely troubled lives that much worse, as these people who already suffered the greatest tragedy of their entire existence were now being threatened every day by a bunch of lunatics with death threats who were attempting to uncover the truth. With such a hefty price tag over Jones's head, he had no choice but to do the right thing and declare bankruptcy in order to get out of paying. A ploy that did not work, as the courts uncovered evidence that Jones was still leading a very extravagant lifestyle and spent nearly a cold mill on himself in the time frame of the bankruptcy case. To be clear, Jones is almost certainly still very rich and absolutely has hidden assets all over the show, but with the mess of paperwork his company and show InfoWars has made out of his finances, for sure intentionally, the only thing the victims can get their hands on in this case is the assets Jones has on hand, hence why he's being forced to sell off his studio equipment. Time will tell whether or not this will actually affect Jones in any meaningful way, as the man makes crazy bank off crazies, and I would assume at the very least has amassed a fortune of, upwards to 150 million. How the hell has he done that, you might be asking yourself? Well, that's a breakdown for another time, but the version I like to tell my lovers, aka it's average if you squint really hard, it is very easy to make a lot of money if you basically sell sugar pills and sell them off as magic candy for men who want more testosterone, as those companies will pay you an absolute arseload in order for you to not ask questions, and those companies know every single loophole available to one in order to avoid paying taxes. It's the exact same way the streamer Trainwrecks TV made an absolute fortune off gambling. Those offshore casinos know exactly how to skirt the law, and if you are willing to put aside your morals, which I totally am, please sponsor me, can make you very rich. That is not a joke, by the way. I'm literally willing to sell crack to children for the right price. Taking us back to a time when there was no Dougie, a truly tragic era, we have the Bridgerton themed ball that took place on Detroit this Sunday the 22nd. It was, to put it very lightly, a mess. The event that was thrown by Uncle and Me LLC, which if that isn't a black American owned business, I don't know what is, threw a festival of the festies in the theme of Bridgerton that apparently had tickets selling from $250 all the way up to $1,000. What was promised was an elegant night of high class society, with the best dressed Bridgertonian getting a grand prize of $2,000. What they got was a literal stripper for some reason, raw food, a single violinist, and some terrible decor. As you can imagine, nobody was best pleased, with of course comparisons immediately being drawn to that failed Wonka event. Uncle and Me has since put out an apology, but have shut their comments off relating to the event on Instagram, and as of yet have made no mention of their intention to refund anyone's money. How the hell did this happen? Well, I've got a pretty good idea. I think Uncle and Me LLC probably wasn't used to this level of success, and once tickets started to fly off the shelf, as it were, they probably spent all of that money on themselves without reinvesting it back into the event. My proof is evidence that was uncovered by me and my team, which is just literally me in a hoodie with no shower and post-wank. All of their events in the past were straightforward, with a main focus being on small music artists. Those events tend to be quite easy to organize, as the music does most of the work for you. But something this advanced that required huge amounts of effort, they just were not ready or equipped for, especially seeing as they don't even have an up and running website just yet. Next up, we have the Mayor of New York, Eric Adams, getting done for bribery and wire fraud. First of all, why would you give a wet shark? Well, look at the soft boiled egg of a human. It just seems a little bit jarring to to me that somebody who looks like this would even risk taking a payout as he's done. This Bruce stands no chance in jail. He's gonna be kissed on the back of his ear and called Erica day one. As of right now, however, he is denying all of the allegations laid against him, especially the charge of accepting foreign-backed campaign funds that were donated through what are called strawmen. Basically, a foreign entity or foreign power will donate to an American citizen, who will then in turn donate to that individual that you're trying to get to, in order to make the donation appear legit, with those donations apparently ballooning all the way up to $10 million. The end goal obviously being whoever is paying that individual for better treatment. As of right now, we don't know whether or not it was actually an entity of a nation behind it, but we do know that all of these donations came through a Turkish man known simply as the Fixer. This investigation apparently kicked off 3 years ago, back in 2021, when alleged Turkish election interference was uncovered. So I think it's pretty safe to say that the government has done their homework on Eric. And furthermore, if the actual Turkish government is really behind this and the Fixer isn't working by himself, that is hysterical. I can't even imagine Turkey as a functioning nation. It's like them and Australia. I don't even see them as like real countries. The idea of Australian espionage just tickles me. Now, mate, listen, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that plane over there, right? And you're gonna ram it into those towers. No, mate, you can't stop at the strip club. You got a 9/11 to commit, mate. With crimes on the mind, in our final story, we have Dr. Disrespect the Law, and how he is attempting to make a comeback. The man was, of course, done in by the court of public opinion, when he self-admitted in a now deleted tweet that he was trying to fiddle a diddle of a little kiddle, and more specifically that he was inappropriately messaging a minor, which resulted in a banishment from his co-founded gaming company known as Midnight Society, as well as every brand he's ever worked with flipping him off. While now the second largest streamer, after, taking a bit of a hiatus, has returned, and he wants his money back and is apparently reapplying for monetization via YouTube. There's nothing more to this than a Diddy discipler trying to get away with his crime, but it doesn't matter, as I know for a fact thousands will tune in and even try and justify him trying to message a child. What? We all make mistakes! Yeah, but some of us yell at our girlfriends in public. We don't try and pick up Katie from pre-K. And that's gonna do it for this week's news, baby. It's been a pleasure as always, boys and girls, and I'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.